Hello, welcome to Knitting Noodles, and in today's video, I should bring the washcloth over. We are going to make a really cute washcloth. Now, this is a pattern that I made up incorporating stockinette stitch, which I have a video for. It's going to be up in this corner, I believe. And moss stitch, if you can see that. And I also have a video for how to do moss stitch over here. And so this is just a combination like checker work type pattern, really small square. Thought it would be nice to incorporate all the different stitches that we have learned. For this, what you are going to need is a pair of scissors. You're going to need a yarn needle. You're gonna need a pen and a piece of paper for keeping track of rows, or if you have a fancy row counter, go ahead and grab that as well. For yarn and needles, now this is kind of up to you. What I am using is this Hobbi. It's a super fine weight. Didn't realize that when I ordered it. So I am doubling it up like this using 2 balls. And using 2 fine weight equals about a 3. I compared it. It's about a 3. And so if you're following along, don't worry about making my mistake. I'd say grab a weight 3 and size 6 needles. If you don't have weight 3, grab yourself a weight 4, which is going to be like Lily's Sugar and Cream. Super easy to find in most craft stores. And instead of a size 6 needle, you're gonna grab a size 7. So your washcloth is going to end up a little bit bigger than this one. If you decide to go for following along with a weight 3, which is like 2 of these, then yours is also gonna be a little on the smaller side. Now, it doesn't really matter because we're not doing measurements. This is purely based on row count. So either way, you should end up with a square. Oh, and for making washcloths, you can use any type of yarn. Just remember that cotton is superior for washcloths because cotton absorbs a lot of water. So for washcloth material, you're gonna want to go for any cotton. Blend is alright, ideally get 100% cotton. Alright, with that, let us get down into the pattern and what you are going to do to make this super cute washcloth. Alright, so the first thing you're gonna do for this project is you are going to cast on 36 stitches. So no matter what yarn you're using, what size, cast on 36. Now, if you need to review how to cast on, I believe it's going to be up in this corner. There's 2 options for you to cast on. There are many more cast on options out there, so whatever you decide to use, cast on 36 stitches, and I'll come back with the next part of the pattern. Right, I'm back with 36 stitches, and so for the next 4 rows, rows 1 to 4 are just gonna be knit. So rows 1 to 4, just knitting. So let's get these 4 rows knocked out of the way. Okay, so I finished my 4 rows. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start working on our pattern. So the 4 rows was just to set up a kind of border edge. As you can see in this one, it acts as a border, which is going to go all the way around the piece. So the first row, where this is going to be row 5. So row 5, we are going to knit 3. So knit 3 stitches, which is abbreviated like this. Knit 3. Then we are going to knit 15 of those stitches. So really it's like 18 stitches, but because this is the border and this is the pattern, I'm going to keep it separated. So knit 15, because that's part of the pattern we're working. Then we're going to repeat 7 times, or good morning, until the last 3 stitches we're going to knit 1, purl 1. So knit 1, purl 1 until the last 3 stitches, and then we are again going to knit 3. So that is row 5, and I will come back to you when that row is done. Alright, so we did knit 1, purl 1 7 times. There are 4 stitches left in the needle. Because there are an odd number of stitches, we're going to knit 1 extra one. I forgot to put on here. So let me do this. The little stars mean to repeat. We're going to knit 1 extra, and then we're going to knit 3. So we knit the 1 extra, and then we knit the 3. I forgot to add that. Alright. That is our first row of the pattern done. Alright, now the next row, so we're going to write down row 6. We are going to, again, knit 3 for the border. And we are going to work, again, knit 1, purl 1 for the first 15 stitches. So putting the little stars means to repeat. So knit 1, purl 1. We're going to repeat that 7 times. Then we are going to knit 1 stitch, because that's the extra one since there's an uneven number of rows, or stitches, not rows. Then we are going to purl 15 stitches, and then knit 3. So this is the back side of our pattern. And that is row 6 completed. Now you are going to repeat rows 5 and 6. So repeat rows 5 to 6 this many times. Should be around 25, but I'm going to double check. So I'm going to put the exact number up here. So repeat it until you have that many stitches. So you'd count 1, 2, 3, 4, not like you did 2 stitches one time, or two rows one time. So you're gonna count your rows until you make it to this number of rows. And you're starting from 1, not starting from 5, 6. All right, and I will see you at the end of that many rows. And each of these sections should be a block like this, how it turned out, like little squares. So your goal is to make squares of this. So if you are knitting along and you're using a different size yarn or a different size needle, double check with measuring, because the number of rows might not be exact. How you would do that is you'd take your ruler, check the width of, let's say, our stockinette stitch section, which is just under 3 stitches. So count the rows as well, but double check as you're going to make sure you make it just underneath that 3-inch mark, because it could go either way with different sized yarn. So always double check as you're working, because you don't want like a really long strip of a washcloth instead of a square. So if you're not following exactly with the size that I said, which is the size 3 yarn with a size 6 needle, if you're sizing up or sizing down, then you might always double check as you're working. All right, so I will come back with these squares. Okay, I finished the first part of this. So I ended up doing 19 rows. So take this off, because now we're going to switch these 2 squares around. So this one up here is going to be that moss stitch, and this one up here is going to be that stockinette stitch. So row 26 is going to be knit 3, and it's going to be purl, right, because we're going the back side, so it's going to be purl 15. Then after that, it's going to be knit 1, purl 1, and we're going to repeat that about 7 times, and then we're going to knit 1, knit 3. That's row 26. Row 27 is going to be knit 3, then we're going to do knit 1, purl 1, do that 7 times, and we're going to knit 1, knit 15, knit 3. So it's really like 19 stitches, but because it's different parts of the pattern, I'm just separating it out just so it's clear what part is which. Like the knit 1 is still part of the moss stitch, knit 15 is part of the stockinette, and knit 3 is part of the border. Alright, so let's get into this, and this should be another 19 rows. Got the 2 halves to be the same size, or roughly the same size. It took 2 extra rows to make this block the same measurement width-wise. Not sure why that happened, but that's why you always want to measure as you're going, because sometimes stuff happens that, I don't know, maybe you can't really explain. So I just added 2 more rows, same size, so just 2 more extra rows of work. Alright, the last thing we're going to do is to add that top border on it. So all we're going to do is, for the next 4 rows, we're just going to knit. Then we're going to weave in the ends, you're going to bind off, weave in the ends, and you're going to have a washcloth. to do is to weave in those ends, and we have a finished dishcloth. And there we have our finished washcloth. Alright, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you all made wonderful washcloths, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!